Alrighty, as a buyer's agent, would I buy this property? Today, I'm going to break down another property. So we're going to use ChatGPT to select a random suburb. Then we're going to jump onto realestate.com and I'm going to pick a random property to review and show you exactly the things that I'm looking for as a buyer's agent. So let's head over to ChatGPT and see what suburb comes up. So, Ballina. Ballina. I know Ballina, but not that well. So let's just see. There's been a bit of a shift in terms of these regional towns. Like they got a big kick through COVID. And then obviously they did taper down as people started to move back to the cities and things like that. But you know what? I'm going to go 685. So first home buyer brief. This is what we're running through today. As someone that is purchasing their first home, what should they be aware of? What should they be concerned about? I'm a big believer in buying property that goes up in value. So you're buying something, even though you're living in it, you do want it to grow in value because it can be one of the best assets that you own. It's definitely going to be one of the biggest assets you own in terms of expensive, like how expensive something might be. Other forms of assets are like cars and things like that. So a house is going to definitely outstrip the cost of those things. So yeah, it is important when you're looking at your first property to buy the best one possible so that it does have a good chance at growing over time. So let's just have a look at this one. It was added 4 days ago, 202 square meters, 685,000. That's what they're asking for. So if I just look in here, I don't know if it's going to be in a complex, but let's just have a look at what information comes up. I always do a Google search as well, just to see what comes up at this particular address. So 66. Yeah, is there any other information on it? I think this was number 1. So it looks like it's just a simple subdivision in terms of there's no real development. Like there's no other dwellings in there. You might have seen some of the other videos where there's a large complex, lots and lots of townhouses. So yeah, this particular property, if we look at the floor plan, hopefully it's got one. It does. So it's long and skinny. By the looks of it though, I reckon it shares a roof line with the neighboring property or the one behind it because you've got 2 entrances here or like 2 street entrances. So you've got one going in here and then one going in here. So even though it's got its own front entrance, the rear of the property is actually shared with someone else. So I think it's, which is the facade. Let's just have a quick look at this. So it's that facade. Maybe it's that one. Maybe they've painted it. I'm on the right street, 66. Yeah, it's that one there. It's just a bad photo. It looks a lot lighter than what it is. And yeah, you can't always trust Google Maps, but what it does show and highlight to me is that it's 99% sure that is a shared dwelling, right? What's this doing? And I'm guessing this has its own front entrance as well. So yeah, it's exactly the same house. It's just on the other side. Not something I've really seen too often, where you've got these 2 street frontages with their own entrances, exactly the same facade, like a mirroring facade, same roof line, and then it's just chopped in the middle. So looking at the floor plan, it's a 2-bedder. The main thing is obviously like this back end of the house, it's going to feel very dark. So that would probably be one of the things that I'm looking at. And there's no natural light here either. So there's no window here. Even here, like you'd think it's a covered patio, like I would probably want to see a light well in this type of scenario just to throw light into the actual property because it's going to feel super dark. And I'm guessing that any of the internal photos, they're going to have lights on because there's just no internal light. So yeah, you can see they've had to throw all of the lights on because there's these there is a window there. So they haven't represented that window on the floor plan. Even in the kitchen, it doesn't show anything there. But as you can see, there is actually a window in the kitchen facing into that courtyard. The courtyard looks like it's got laser light on top of it. Even though it's covered, it does have the ability to shine light through it. But again, it just looks super dark. Like to me, very dark. If this is the best representation of the property, because that's typically what the agents will do, they'll wait for the best time of the day to go and shoot the property. And if this is the best time, even though it's overcast, I would say that would be a main concern to me from the get-go. Now, how do you overcome that? You can put skylights in. So there is ways around it. You obviously just need to check in the roof space if that's achievable. But yeah, I would be putting a ton of skylights into this property because it does, especially in the northern rivers where the climate is pretty nice. You want to make sure that you've got a light filled home. So again, that just adds value to the property because this is how people think when they're buying properties, especially up there where you have people looking at these things like they're buying lifestyle properties. They don't want some dingy little shack that doesn't really feel like a nice home to be in. So if we look at it from a street view perspective, so again, you'd have to see if this is normal. I would say that one's looks very similar. There's a couple of properties that look similar, you know what I mean? So I don't want to buy anything that's an anomaly. I don't want to buy something that's like, what the hell is that? Like people are thinking, what type of property is this? Because I'm not familiar with the area, I would be speaking to agents. I would be speaking to multiple real estate agents, even property managers. I'd be speaking to them and saying, hey, is this normal? Have you seen a lot of these properties? And if they say yes, see a lot of them, they don't really like, there's no problem with them, or no, we don't really see them come up that often. They're actually really hard to sell. That's the opinion that I'd be taking, or like the information that I'd be wanting to seek out from the agents. Now, this agent's probably not going to tell you that, right? You would have to look at some other agents, and that's pretty easy to do on realestate.com as well. So from a location perspective, you got the tennis club. So if this is overviewing or overlooking a tennis club, that could be something that you would dream of. Like you love playing tennis, it's open space that's sitting right in front of you, or it could be a complete nightmare because of parking. So I would just want to check out this at a time where it's busy for the tennis center. So probably on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning. And tennis starts early, right? Like people are probably hitting tennis balls at 6 o'clock in the morning. Is that going to affect you in the way that you live? Hearing someone going over the net at 6 o'clock in the morning. The bedrooms are at the back, but yeah, it's just, is that going to impact your life? So I'm always seeking out these variables and understand like what someone's life looks like from a day to day. If you're a shift worker and there's a school next door and it's really loud, you're not going to be able to get to sleep. So that's going to be an issue. But yeah, so always just have a look at surrounding dwellings, surrounding infrastructure. This is pretty, I would say it's cool the way that it's got all this open space in front of you. You've got the high school there. Again, is that a problem for you? These people that looking, even though they're first home buyers, they might have kids that would potentially go to the high school over time. The house is a little bit small for multiple kids, but again, everyone has their own living situation. So there is a lot going on around here. This is probably a primary school as well. Yeah, so there's a primary school there, but lots of open space. Like I would say if you're buying in a regional center like Ballina, you'd want to have some open space. You wouldn't want to feel crammed. And then as the crow flies, so if we go back, I think the property's about there. As the crow flies, yeah, it's 800 meters to the water. Like I know this is an inlet, like this is one of the Northern Rivers inlets, but in terms of getting to the water, again, people are buying these properties for lifestyle. It's not that far to get down to the lake or down to the creek if you wanted to go fishing in the afternoon or in the morning or something like that. How would you live in this particular property? But to me, look, the main killer for me would be probably just understanding if this is normal, like that back-to-back arrangement, and then the light. That is changeable. So if this was quite normal for this area and it's not going to impact future growth, then I would probably be okay with it. If we go back to realestate.com or Google, we might be able to see some sold data. If we just put in 1/Burnett, let's see if there's any information that comes up. Property.com might have some information on it. Low confidence. So it's pulling up the whole dwelling. Nearby sales. There is some, we can go on to sold. A really good tool that I use is back on realestate.com, and we just go to sold. We go Ballina. I think we went greater region, but we go onto the sold listings, and then I just want to hit map. If we hit the map, let's just try our luck. So where was that? Richmond River, North Creek, Burnett. There it is. So we were on this end of Burnett. Let's just see. It's sold. Oh no, that's next door. And that's the one that is behind it. So if we go to Google again, let's just go back to this. So number 70. So those two properties they're individual, right? So they're not touching one another. So that's this property. Sorry, it was, yeah, this property and this property. So they sold for 8. This is 2020, right? So this is right in the peak in terms of COVID and all of that. There is a filter that you can use on here, which will go sold date, let's just say last 3 months, see if anything pops up. Yeah, I didn't think anything would pop up. But let's just have a look around as to what units are selling for. What type of unit is that? That looks like an apartment. Let's wind back a little bit further. So if I go the last 12 months, nothing sold there, just this one. Let's have a quick look at this. And then that one sold for $1 million. Look, in terms of price, there's some good signs. Like I would say a unit, a 2-bedroom, one bath, 1 car garage unit versus the other. So this is, yeah, again, it's more of an apartment. Yeah, New South Wales call units apartments or call apartments units. So yeah, this is definitely something that is considerably less in what you get for your money versus if you were to purchase the original property that we're looking at, that 1/66 Burnett Street, in terms of what you get for your money. So yeah, if we're back on to this particular property, this looks, if it sold for 685, it looks like it's a decent amount of value compared to this selling at 530. So $150,000 extra. You get your own block of land, you get your own entrance, you get your own garage, like all of that kind of stuff. It's a detached dwelling, even though like from the facade it's detached, but at the rear it's attached. So yeah, that's the huge jump for me in terms of the property types. But yeah, I would do probably a little bit more research as to what things are selling for in this particular area that is a unit. But yeah, in terms of what has sold in this particular area, even if we wind back, let's just say, I don't think it's going to let us do more than 12 months. So let's just go any, and I'll try to pick something. So that's 2016, 2015, 2018. So look, it's again all positive signs to this area is tightly held. So things aren't transacting a lot. Like this, yeah, again, sold 2020, 2021, 2015. Yeah, nothing's really, they're not high turnover properties. People buy them and they hold them. So that is a good sign to me in terms of, you know, who's buying in here. You're probably going to have a higher owner-occ type situation, not too many renters. It's over 10 years ago. This looks like a similar arrangement. So yeah, I would be doing that next level of DD, like due diligence, to speak to the agents and figure out if those properties that are back to back are okay. But yeah, from me, from the outset, I think it would get the green light pending that situation and pending what we could do from a light source perspective. But yeah, it's 200 square meters. It's in a desirable area like Ballina, definitely from a lifestyle perspective, like boating, fishing, all of that kind of stuff. People want to live there. So yeah, from that perspective, it would get the green light for me. But yeah, I would just have to check off everything else. So yeah, that's that one. See you on the next.